In today's video, I'm going to talk about some changes Valve just made behind the scenes that are kind of hinting that they're getting closer to the Steam Machine's release, and the Steam Frame and the Steam Controller. And for the quick news story to wrap up the video, I want to talk about how Epic Games really can't win. How's it going, everyone? As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. This is Deck Ready, my channel all about Steam hardware. I hope you're having a great week playing a ton of video games. I'm still hooked on The Division 2, but I just picked up Quarantine Zone because it looks like it runs pretty well on the Steam Deck, and I feel like I'm built for that game. I feel like I'm the perfect person to be the security checkpoint officer during a zombie outbreak because I have seen literally every zombie movie ever made. But we'll find out after I actually give it a shot. Let me know what you're playing down in the comments below. As I said in the last video, thanks for getting me over 100,000 subscribers. I really appreciate it. Let's keep those numbers pumping up though. Subscribe to the channel, set your notifications to all. Let's get into the main topic of the video, which is Valve making some changes in the back end of Steam that are heavily hinting that they'll hit that Q1 release date of the Steam Machine. I'm holding out faith that they're not going to delay it. So I was scrolling through the Deck Ready Twitter yesterday and I got a notification about a new tweet from Brad Lynch, who's one of the best follows if you're into Steam hardware at all. And that post let me know that during their weekly maintenance on the Steam store, Valve went in and changed all the URLs for the new Steam hardware. So like going to steamdeck.com still takes you to the Steam store page for the Steam Deck, but going to the old link, which was store.steampowered.com/sale/steamframe/steam machine/steam controller. I'm pretty sure it has its own page. I'll double check that in the edit and it'll be B-roll if it does have its own page. Regardless, the old links were store.steampowered/sale and now they've been changed to store.steampowered/hardware/whatever device it's about. And this was actually kind of funny because it caused a mini meltdown over on the Steam Machine subreddit and kind of the Steam Deck subreddit because people figured out that if they went to the links for the old pages, they would redirect you to the homepage of the Steam store. And people were like, oh my God, is it finally happening? Because, you know, it was Tuesday night when all of this went down. And traditionally Valve announces things on Wednesday. So I bought into the hype a little bit. I will admit I waited till 1 p.m. today to record this video because the Steam store refreshes at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Nothing happened, but it is obvious that even with all of these big problems with, you know, memory shortages, SSD shortages, GPU shortages, Valve is still working on this thing under the assumption that it will release in early 2026. And I gotta thank you guys for the check a couple videos back where I said if they release it before the end of June this year, that still covers early 2026. We're gonna say that early 2026 is between now and the end of March. I feel like March is the beginning of the year. It's the first third of the year. We can consider that early 2026. I think that's fair. And I'm still feeling pretty positive that we're going to see this stuff released by then, because even with all of these shortages and everything, I've talked about this a few times on the channel, I still think they had this thing ready to go for a long time before they actually announced it, and they made a judgment call that it would be a bigger move to announce the Steam Machine, the Steam Frame, and the Steam Controller all together and really build up hype for these new hardware products. Of course, it was kind of a double-edged sword because while it was an extremely cool hype moment, they could not predict that AI data centers would buy up all of the consumer hardware and like people wouldn't be able to buy GPUs unless they wanted a 3060 or buy a new SSD for a fair price or buy RAM for their PC. That was just unfortunate timing. But even with that context, in hindsight, I think they had the correct philosophy there. It just didn't really work out. But the point still stands that I think they had a lot of this stuff ready, and I'm sure a lot of it's manufactured. I don't know if it's all boxed up and ready to ship out or anything like that, but I'd assume that they're off the manufacturing lines, ready to have SteamOS installed. And while all this has been going on, I mean, if you've watched the channel, they've been regularly updating SteamOS with a ton of features that directly relate to the Steam Machine and of course the Steam Frame. So I think we'll see this thing launch as intended. I still think the price will be around $600 or $650, and it will just be a great PR move for Valve. While everyone else is raising prices, while everyone else is canceling games, they're sticking to what they said at the very beginning and coming in at a competitive price. And I think it was fair for them to come out and say, we're not going to subsidize it as heavily as we did with the Steam Deck, but you know, it's going to be the cost of adding up these parts. I think when when they said that, they meant at normal rates, not like the rates that you're seeing now for DDR5 RAM or anything like that. So when I see little things like this happen, it makes me hopeful that they're going to stick to their plans. And honestly, I feel like they went into this a lot more confident than they did with the Steam Deck, because that was a brand new product that had never really been done before at a mass market scale like what we saw with the Steam Deck. I have to qualify it that way because everyone's like, what about GPD or what about Aya Neo? I understand that those existed. I had an Aya Neo handheld right when I started this channel and it was cool, but it's a different thing, right? Like, it's packing desktop grade hardware into a handheld size chassis. The real revolution of the Steam Deck was that it could run at lower wattages, it had a very premium look and feel, and it was a lot cheaper than what we had seen before, right? Like, if you want maximum performance, you can go out and buy the GPD Win 5 or a Legion Go 2, but if you want a great bang for your buck scenario, the Steam Deck is and always will be undefeated in that category. Unless you go buy one of those open box Z1 Extreme ROG Allies, I would not fault anyone for doing that. If you install SteamOS on it, I mean, that's just a win all the way around. I think those things are available now for $350. So if you're the kind of person who really cares about performance, I would not fault anyone for going out and just throwing down $350 on a Z1 Extreme ROG Ally. Even if it was just like out of morbid curiosity to see how Windows full screen experience works, that's the point at which I would jump in on it if I didn't already have one. If anyone from Valve is watching, thanks for working so hard. I would love an early review unit of the Steam machine, but what I really want to say is if you have to delay it, that's fine. I'm cool with that. Just release the controller first. It's not going to ruin anything if you release the controller to be like, we got to delay the thing, but here's a consolation prize. You can order the controller right now. I've got my whole living room PC set up ready to go for that controller. I will buy at least 2 of those controllers, and I know from reading the comments on this channel, there are people who just want the controller. So if you have to delay it, release the controller. Come on. Like, do us a solid. We're going to buy the thing. We're going to give you money. Like, I'm pleading, I'm begging, I'm bargaining here. Just give us the controller if you have to delay it. Best case scenario, though, is of course that they don't delay it. So yeah, they're making changes behind the scenes. I'm still firmly in the belief that they will release this thing in early 2026. I'm crossing my fingers. All we can really do is sit back and wait. That covers the main topic of this video. Now, I always like to have one quick news story towards the end. I'll talk about Quarantine Zone after I play it. I just got to talk about Epic Games here because Tim Sweeney is just a massive pro at going on Twitter and stepping on 400 rakes, and this latest example is really funny. So we all know that like the growth strategy for Epic Games is not to make a competent storefront that's actually worth using. It's more to like buy exclusivity on games like Alan Wake 2, which resulted in Remedy having to write off potentially hundreds of millions of dollars from people not even knowing that game came out, and other people not wanting to buy it on the Epic Games Store and never allowing them to release it on Steam, which would like most assuredly, if we're being real, increase the sales of that product with literally no buy-in investment on Remedy's part. And the other part of their strategy, of course, is to just give away free games repeatedly, like pretty much every single week. Then towards the end of the year, they give out even more free games, and they just cross their fingers and hope that people will open the store, claim the free game, and then stick around to actually play the free game. It doesn't really seem like it worked out that way because we got some new info from New Blood. So this one's coming from the guy who leads the ship over at New Blood Interactive, Dave Oshry. He was on Twitter talking about how recently Blood West, which is an excellent game, I really enjoyed that game, was free on the Epic Game Store. And even though it was free on the Epic Game Store, it resulted in a 200% sales increase on Steam. So people saw this game was free on the Epic Game Store, probably became aware that it existed for the first time and said, I could open up the Epic Game Store on SteamOS or on Windows, but you know, I'd rather just buy the game on Steam. And I'm sure it had a little bit of a discount running at the same time because it all happened around the time of the Steam Christmas sale, but still, that's kind of crazy that it's being offered for free on an app that you can download for free, on an app that you need to play Alan Wake 2 and Fortnite, and people still went out of their way to just buy it on Steam, which is cool because that game is excellent and it actually runs pretty well on the Steam Deck. So like either way, things worked out positively for the developer. I'm sure they got a huge chunk of cash from Epic Games to make it free on the Epic Game Store. And then they got a bigger influx of cash when the sales increased by 200% over on Steam. I'm not trying to get in the fanboy camps here. I talk about this all the time, but the reason Steam succeeds so much is because it's a good product. If Steam tomorrow turned into a terrible product, I think people would be much more open to using other storefronts like Epic Games or of course GOG. But like, a lot of the moves they make are just not great. And a lot of the leadership over there loves to speak out of both sides of their mouth, right? Like they talk about making things more open and fair for game devs, but the way they do it is super backhanded and, if we're being real, kind of shady. And like taking Rocket League off of Steam, taking Fall Guys off of Steam, publishing Alan Wake 2, and which is cool because, you know, that game probably wouldn't have gotten made if they didn't get the cash from Epic Games. But then when the game's not selling that well, still barring them from releasing it on Steam. Just a bunch of weird moves that pile up on top of each other. And then there's the ultimate icing on the cake sort of bad thing that happened, which is they for no reason don't allow Fortnite to run on the Steam Deck. This game's on Switch, this game's on Switch 2, this game's back on iPhone and Android, but it's not allowed to run on Linux or Steam Deck. There is literally zero defense for that. I give Bungie the same criticism for Destiny 2. I'll give it to them for Marathon. It's just so annoying that there's a big chunk of people that are asking you for the ability to play your game, and you're offering up these terrible solutions like, oh, stream the game from the cloud. No, it's a competitive multiplayer shooter. Cloud streaming introduces latency. It's not a good solution. Your game should be available on Linux. And until they start actually doing things that are pro-consumer, all this lip service about, oh, we're trying to help out developers, we're trying to be pro-consumer and pro-gamer, it's not going to get you anywhere because your actions betray your worth. I love the phrase actions speak louder than words. I've learned it when I was a kid. It's really stuck with me. Like, you can say you'll be on time all you want. What really matters is showing up on time. You can say you're pro-consumer, you can say you're pro-gamer, you're pro-dev, but when the actions betray the meaning of your words, it doesn't matter how many times you say those words. They don't really matter because you're not acting on what you're saying. I just had to talk about this story because I've done this. Like, I've literally seen games get offered up for free. I think it was the Outlast Trials a while ago, ended up being free on the Epic Game Store. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know that game came out of early access. And I went right to Steam. I bought that game and it is excellent. That might be a game I feature later on the channel because it runs incredibly well on Steam Deck and it's so much fun. I like Dead by Daylight, even though it's a disaster. Outlast Trials is like the sleeper hidden gem of online multiplayer horror gaming. It is so much fun. It's crazy. But yeah, guys, that brings me to the end of this video. I hope everything's going great for you still as we lead into February. We have gotten more snow here in Michigan since I moved back a couple of years ago. And honestly, in the 8 years I lived in Los Angeles, I don't remember it ever snowing this much in Michigan. It's like when I was a kid and we were making giant snowballs and stuff. I love it. I really missed it. I don't love having to shovel my driveway 3 times a day. I'm militant about it. I go out in the morning before I go to the gym. I shovel the driveway. I came back today. There was 2 more inches of snow, shoveled it. And when I finish editing this video, I'm going to be right back outside shoveling that driveway so my wife doesn't pack down the snow when she gets home from work, because I hate that. I hate when you miss the shoveling and then someone drives up your driveway and packs it down and you got to sit there scraping it with your shovel. Just the worst. But yeah, I hope everything's going great for you. That's all I've got for you in today's video. As always, my name is Jimmy Champagne. I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching and shape on.